Agreed? But that's, in effect, what's happened here. This woman has met Solomon. Some scholars think that this woman actually worked for Solomon. Here's why. Her family, well, let's read the verses. It says, she says, don't look at me. I'm darkened by the sun. She says, my mother's sons were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard, then, I have neglected. Well, here's what she's saying. First of all, we get kind of an insight into her family structure. It doesn't say her father's sons, and usually when the father's not included in the description of the sons, he's dead. And so this girl's growing up in a single-parent home. Anybody there? All right. So she's growing up in a single-parent home without the nurture and protection of her father. Her sons, or her mother's sons, her brothers, are mean and overbearing, and they're probably making her do things that she has to do according to the culture that she doesn't want to do, and she's having to work outside, and that's how she got tan. And so she meets Solomon. Perhaps she's tending even a portion of his flocks as the prince of Israel. And the boss came out to look at the sheep one day, and she's like there, and it's like, oh, she can't see me like this. I can almost picture her trying to hide. But they happen to meet. And she says, ladies, she's telling the story to her friends here, this flashback. She's like, oh, I was so tan, it was so gross. But as you've read in the early verses, things kind of worked out. You know why things worked out? It's the first thing we need to learn today. We're probably not going to get to all the notes, just so you know. Relax. But the reason that things worked out is because Solomon understood something that's very important as you're pursuing your two. And that's this, that outward appearance is a far distant second to what's happening on the inside. If you're going to be a worthy partner for someone, and if you're looking for a worthy partner for yourself, then you need to find and be someone with character. Write that down. It should be the first stop on this journey. So many times I talk to couples who looked fabulous in their early 20s. And things were booming, they were having a great time, it was party time all the time, and then they get 6, 7, 10 years into the relationship. They don't look like they used to. And they've been able to kind of just socialize and party and exist. But in the end, when it comes down to getting through a crisis in life or sorting through their differences, they're both completely without character. They have nothing on the inside to give each other. And that's the bedrock of relationships. It's the bedrock of marriage. What you want to be able to do is get past the surface and get to the inside and find out what you're working with there, because that's what's going to stem the tide as you go through the rocky relationship stuff that every relationship faces. Are you with me? Solomon, he wasn't concerned with the fact that this girl was tan. My guess is that he saw that she was willing, even though her brothers were oppressive and demanded things of her that she shouldn't be doing, she was willing to do it. She humbly served. She was a hard worker. He saw those qualities, and that's what drew him to her. Proverbs 31 is the last proverb in the book of Proverbs, and it describes, this ultimate woman. And never once in the description is her appearance mentioned. Never talks about how she looks. It just talks about what she does and who she is and how she's revered by her children and all those in the community. It talks about her character. And for us, that should matter most. If we want to experience the design that God has for love and marriage and relationships, we should pay attention and focus on developing our character. When I met Eleanor, we were a freshman and a sophomore in college. Eleanor's my wife. Okay. Eleanor worked the snack bar at my little school in Chicago, and I was the frequenter of a snack bar. Try to picture that. Anyway, we met and hung out, and I would just see, and she wore this really nasty polyester, huge pinstriped red, just nasty, and a big apron with all the ice cream toppings that they would, it was just, and then she had a paper hat on, the topper of every attractive outfit. Oh, I can't go out. Where's my paper hat? Right? She's not, bringing the A game as far as appearances, ladies. But I remember just getting to know her as I would purchase my items. Don't get me wrong. My wife is a fox. all right? And I saw right through all the pinstripes, just so, not literally, but anyway, okay, but you know, I knew she was hot, but you know what? As I went down every night that she would be working. I went down, I ordered the same thing, a blueberry muffin, a cup of milk. I don't know why. I just wanted to be in the same room with her. And I would just watch her as she interacted with her coworkers. Her coworkers were not near as cool as she was. She was the prom queen, literally in her high school, prom queen, homecoming queen, all these queens. She was, and she was smoking. But she would hang out with these, you know, other, you know, coworkers that just weren't necessarily in her clique. You know what I'm saying? She laughed with them and joked, and I just got to see her interact with people that were total strangers, and I was like, man, I like that. We had our first date. I was told by my sister, this is how we got together. My sister told me that she liked me, and my sister told her that I liked her. Yeah, and so it was a turnabout weekend. We're at our school. The girls asked the guys out, and so my sister told her that I would be just devastated if she didn't ask me out, and then she told me, hey, this girl's going to ask you out. Don't say no. So I get to the snack bar that night, and indeed, Eleanor says, hey, would you like to go out? And I said, yes. But here, just so you know, I wasn't the godly, spiritual man that I am now back then. And I thought I was all that in like a truckload of chips. I mean, I was... And so I very smugly and arrogantly said, you bet I'll bless you with my presence on a day. Something to that effect. And later that night, I called her up to tell her, hey, just so you know, this is the greatest day of your life. I mean, just in effect. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't saying those words. I got 5 minutes into my diatribe, and this was the decider for me right here. This is when I knew, this is my two. This is probably, I mean, this is a good chance. This is my two. Because 5 minutes into my, just going off on how great I was, Eleanor said, hey, Mark, can I say something to you? I said, sure. I mean, you're pausing, the button here on how great I am, but go ahead. She said, you know what? I mean, I don't know you that well, but you sound like you're really full of yourself. As God is my witness, this little pipsqueak freshman is telling me, big man on campus, that I'm arrogant. So I made some excuse. I didn't know what to do. I was flummoxed. I didn't know what, so I hung up the phone. I turned to my roommate and I said, you will not believe this. This little snack bar girl had the nerve to tell me that I'm arrogant. I'm full of myself. And my roommate, without looking up, said, well, you are. I was like, you're no. And so I walked out, and I kind of was mad, and I was storming down the hallways of my dorm, and I was like, what? But then, like 5 minutes later, I was like, hey, I kind of like that. And guys, you should want a woman who lovingly and gently, but clearly tells you the truth. And so I went back, and we spent the next 4 or 5 hours on the phone. I sat in my closet so my roommate could sleep, and that's back when they weren't like cordless. Some of you might not even know that actually happened once. But that's how we started dating. And just so we're clear, I think my wife is the hottest, most attractive woman in the world. In fact, let me just say this quick as a caveat. If you're married, your spouse determines what you are attracted to. Because here's what I mean. If Jennifer Aniston or whatever, name a celebrity, if they're your ultimate, you're messing up your marriage. Like if they're your ultimate attraction, you are demeaning, and it's not just us guys; it's the women too. If you hold someone else as more attractive than your spouse, you're blowing up your marriage eventually in some way. Maybe not entirely, but that's your spouse should be the most attractive, most beautiful person to you in the world. They are your standard. One of your friends might say, hey, what do you find attractive in a woman? You describe your spouse. What do you find attractive in a man? You describe your spouse. I don't care if he gains 60 pounds. You may have thought you liked tall and lanky. Now you like tall and fat. You can ask Eleanor. But listen, that's the way it's meant to be. Because we don't set the bar of our satisfaction or our fulfillment on something that's exterior. We set it on what happens on the inside. So write this down in your notes. Find someone with character. Service should happen over looks. I don't know if that's in there. But we should look for someone's attitude towards service more than we look at their outsides. Their attitude towards people, their willingness to tell the truth. In a spiritual sense, we're not going to get into a lot of that this week, but well, one of the pastors I listened to said this once. If you're a single person out here, here's your goal in life. You set your priorities on the one. That's God. And in fact, he said, run as hard as you can towards God. Honor Him with your life, with all that you have. And as you're pursuing Him, look out to the sides. And look for the person of the opposite sex who is running as hard as they can towards God as well.